Welcome back to our video series on how to customize our free motion graphics pack template for YouTube creators. If you'd like to follow along, you can download the template pack using the link in the description below. Our next video in this series is going to be about how to customize our logo intro video. Let's dive in. Alright, so let's go ahead and begin customizing this intro. So all you need to do is come down here and select the actual Mogrt graphic on your timeline, and then come up here to edit in the Essential Graphics panel. And here is kind of where all the magic happens when it comes to customizing these graphic templates. So in this we have pretty much 4 different categories. We have the graphic logo here. We have the text logo, which I'll show you here in a second. We have the channel name, and then we have the theme colors. So first, let me just kind of zoom into our footage here, our graphic template. And you can see that as we kind of scrub through, we can see the graphics and how long the video lasts and how these things are animated. And the playback quality is just a little blurry. That's just because this is not rendered out. But after you render this out, it'll be very high quality and sharp. So let's go ahead and first let's replace this logo. So we're going to come here and we can check on and off the visibility of the logo. That's for you, those of you who have a logo that you want to use. And let's say we want to swap this out. So what we'll do is we'll just come up here and say replace from Explorer by selecting this little hamburger menu. And then we'll navigate to our folder where we have our logo stored. I'm using a logo with an alpha matte or an alpha channel so that it is transparent. And you see that my logo is a little large. It's kind of clipping the text here. So there's a couple different things that we can do to fix that. So the first thing that you might think is maybe we should scale this down. So let's go ahead and just kind of scale this. Underneath our logo here, there is a couple controls built in. So we have logo position where we can move it left and right or up and down, or we can also scale it as well. So I just scaled it down, but honestly, I don't know if I necessarily want to go that route. Let me just kind of play through the animation to see how this is all looking. And as I kind of rewind the animation, I see that how this starts out, the logo is a little large for these rings right here. So I will scale it down. So I'll just kind of scroll or click and scrub this. Sometimes the controls can be a little finicky to get going, but you can always click and just type in a value as well. So I think 35 looks good. So I'll go ahead and just kind of play that through. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and we've modified the graphic logo here. So now let's go ahead and play around with this channel name. So the channel name can be your channel name, your business name, whatever you would like. I'm just going to type in for Atelier and hit enter. Or you know what, actually I'm going to type in something else. I'm going to type animation and motion design. And you'll see that this is way too big. And this is a problem that I wanted to show you just so that you can fix it if you run into this issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale this down until it's a size that I think looks aesthetically pleasing. And I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and scrub through my timeline here. And the first thing I noticed was this is kind of clipping the logo, which doesn't look too good, but we can fix that. So let's go ahead and we're going to look for that moment where things are getting clipped right there. And we'll come over here to our channel position. And from here, I'll select the Y coordinate and I'll click and I'll drag. And I'm just going to drop it down to about about right there. So now it's not coming from the logo. So now this will pop up and then slide down, and that looks pretty good. The other thing I'm just kind of looking at is how close the text is to this ring right here, making sure that I'm just okay with how close that is. And I might take it down just a little bit, just so there's a little bit more negative space between the text and these rings. All right, so now let's go ahead and we're going to make the most drastic change of all, and that's going to be by changing the color of this. So let's go ahead and we'll open up our theme colors down here, and I'm going to change our background color, and I'm going to go with something that's just kind of dark blue, and hit OK. And then I'm going to change my primary theme color here to something that's kind of like a goldish color. And I think that looks pretty good. And I might actually change that text color here. So I'll select this eyedropper and then select that same goldish color that I have there. And I think that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and play this through to kind of get an idea how this is looking. And that's looking pretty nice. I'm going to pause the video right here and render this out, and we'll get a better idea of what this looks like. So what I'm going to do is just trim my work area down. So I'll just come to the end of this footage right here and press O for out. And I'll come to the very beginning and press I. And then I'm going to render this out, and I'll see you in just a second. All right, we're back and the logo has rendered out, so let me show you that. All right, and that looks pretty good. So earlier in this tutorial, I was telling you about this text logo, and I just want to cover that really quick. So let's go ahead and we're going to hide the graphic logo, and we will go to our text logo, and I'll just turn that on. And we could turn them on at the same time, but you can see it's just kind of popping in from behind. So with this, if you don't have a graphic logo and you just want to use your the text logo as your channel name and maybe a tagline for your channel text name, you can do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in for Atelier here. Hit enter. And then I'm going to change the color of this to white. And I'm going to play through our animation just to see how this is fitting. And that's way too big. Okay. I'm also going to scroll or scrub on my timeline. And just to see how this looks at the beginning. And it looks like we could probably go quite a bit smaller. Right there. All right, another thing that I'm noticing is that this text isn't necessarily lined up in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the positioning of this text logo when it's in this small circle, and just click and drag and have that drop down just a little bit, just so it's a little bit more center. And I might even just scoot it over just to the left, just a tad. All right, so now let's go ahead and scrub this and see how that's playing out. Okay, that looks better. But then we have this major gap between our text logo and our subtext. So let's go ahead and we'll go back to that subtext. And we'll look for the position, and we will just scrub and bring that up just below it. The other thing is I'm going to scrub and look for where it's kind of popping out underneath that mask. So right about here. And then I'll drag that back down into position. So maybe about right there. Oops. And I'm actually going to want to drag it to where it falls and it's in a position that I like. And I kind of like it right there. And then it's just up to you to adjust and finesse the settings and the text and the fonts to meet your aesthetic preferences. All right, so I just wanted to show you that before we move on to the next asset. Now that you know how to customize the intro video, watch our next video on how to customize the lower thirds.